With the breaking news, the Kremlin has announced that Russian President Vladimir Putin held a phone call with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian. The conversation focused on ongoing efforts to de-escalate tensions in the region. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov has emphasized Putin's commitment to continue his diplomatic work aimed at reducing regional conflicts. Now we stay on this topic. Russian President Vladimir Putin and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held a phone conversation on Friday discussing the escalating situation in the Middle East and Iran. The Kremlin stated that Putin offered Russia's support in mediating the ongoing crisis, with Iran underlining the need for stronger political and diplomatic efforts to ensure stability in the region. This offer comes as protests continue in Iran, further fueling tensions between the Islamic Republic and Western nations. Meanwhile, the Iranian mission in India has strongly condemned the United States for using the United Nations as a platform to make unfounded allegations regarding Iran's handling of ongoing protests. Iran's deputy UN envoy Darzi accused the U.S. of turning the UN into theater to spread baseless claims. Now for this discussion, we welcome Professor Veselin Popovsky. He's a professor and vice dean at Jindal Global Law School, joins us live from London. Thank you very much, Professor, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, looking at this, what's your analysis on, also the breaking news that we just took that Putin and Iranian President Pezeshkian held a phone call, and also Putin and Israeli Prime Minister calling for this. How ironic is that? Because Putin is, of course, Russia is at war right now.
Well, Vladimir Putin tries to kind of have some diplomacy and some image as someone important, but he is no longer important. These are useless phone calls because they wouldn't solve anything. Russia cannot help anybody. They couldn't help Maduro in Venezuela, and they cannot help Iranians as well. Russian army is half destroyed in Ukraine, and they have no economic power, they have no other power, no political power. These are just phone calls, they mean nothing. Well, traditionally Iran is a Russian ally. They can probably help the Ayatollah to get a refuge in Moscow, exactly like al-Bashir from Syria got a refuge when he was ousted from power in Syria. All Russia can do is help the Ayatollah to survive with a helicopter ride somewhere. But that's all that Russia can do here. And yes, the situation in Iran kind of ironically reminds the situation in Russia. After a long period of mismanagement, economic and political, the Iranians, the people of Iran, protested because their life became miserable. They used to be a very normal and prosperous people, very educated back in the 1970s before the regime took over. And now their lives turn miserable. They protest against their economic position. They are not protesting for some American intervention. They are basically worried about their lives, their families, and so many of them, more than several thousands already, are killed by this murderous regime. And yes, Vladimir Putin, another murderous regime who treats the people of Russia exactly like the Ayatollah in Iran treat the Iranian people, can have a phone call how to survive. So I guess the phone call between Russia and Iran is about how to survive in power. And that's what dictators do. Well, the phone call with Israel probably is kind of to make a little bit of balance here, because Israel and Iran are two enemies, historic enemies for a long time. And that explains why Putin tries to talk to both sides here and somehow to make himself important. But obviously, for me, that's not a news. These are courtesy calls without any meaning. They will not have any implications, in my opinion.
Right. And when you say that what was discussed was how to survive between these calls, right? So how do you think, how will they do so? Because of course they're putting it a lot of money on their forces, right? Iran is putting a lot of money on they're fighting the protesters, and then Russia is of course pouring it all the money on their war with Ukraine.
Well, kind of, again, irony is that both Russia and Iran are rich in resources. They export a lot of oil and gas and other resources, and that's how those dictators try to survive, by selling their natural mineral resources. Venezuela was the other example, another rich in resources country, but the change will happen in Venezuela. Hopefully it will happen also in Iran and in Russia, because those leaders utilize, and Muammar Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein, they're all the same. They utilize the resources of the country to establish tyrannic, endless regimes. But sooner or later, they all end in the same way. So Putin and the Ayatollah Khamenei have to choose one of the way to finish. They want to finish like Saddam Hussein, possible. They want to finish like Muammar Gaddafi, possible. They want to finish like Maduro, possible. Let them choose one of the three ways to finish, and let them finish. There is no escape from this, in my opinion. No matter how many you may have, the end is one. There is one direction. Choose between Saddam, Gaddafi, and Maduro, and that's the choice for Putin and the Ayatollah of Iran today.
Right. Thank you very much, Professor Popovsky, for sharing that insight. Now we move on to our next news. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado has presented her Nobel Peace Prize medal to President Donald Trump at a private White House meeting. In a response, U.S. President Donald Trump has expressed his gratitude on a social media post, saying the move was a wonderful gesture of mutual respect. Speaking on the meeting with Machado, U.S. President said that meeting her was a great honor, calling her a wonderful woman who has been through a lot. President Trump, who often talks about his desire to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, had expressed displeasure when it was given to Machado, and she decided to accept the honor last year. Machado, ahead of the meeting with Trump, had said that she would share the prize with Trump, but the Nobel Committee later clarified that it was not transferable. Trump has previously described Machado as a freedom fighter, but rejected the notion of appointing her to lead Venezuela after Maduro's removal, arguing that she lacks sufficient domestic support. Let's listen into what Machado has shared.
I presented the President of the United States the medal of the Nobel Peace Prize, and I told him this, listen to this. 200 years ago, General Lafayette gave Simón Bolívar a medal with George Washington's face on it. Bolívar since then kept that medal for the rest of his life. Actually, when you see his portraits, you can see the medal there. And it was given by General Lafayette as a...
For this discussion, we welcome back Professor Veselin Popovsky from London. Thank you very much, Professor, for staying with us. Now, looking at this, how significant is this move by, Nobel Peace Prize winner, particularly Machado over here, who she just recently got it, and she has already given it or passed it to U.S. President Trump? And what could have, motivated her? Do you think she was? Is this some calculated move or some kind of strategy for her to gain some U.S. support? What do you think?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Asuma. Your suggestion is what it is. It is a political gesture to gain some support from Donald Trump for the future elections in Venezuela. And yes, she also mentioned that there was a similar gesture by Marquis de Lafayette in 1825 when He sent the medal to Simon Bolivar, at that time the leader of Venezuela, and she is returning the favor. This is a very nice diplomatic, historical, symbolic gesture. She is the Nobel Peace, and it will be remembered forever. She is the name that will be in the Nobel list. So the medal doesn't matter. It's the same if I get an Olympic medal and give it to a friend. The name of the Olympic heroes remain, no matter whether the medals are. And this also suggests that Donald Trump is somebody who is like a child who likes chocolates, and everybody goes to Washington to give him a chocolate to make him happy. But they shouldn't do that. I wonder why people are so much obsessed with Donald Trump and give him gifts and chocolates. They shouldn't, because it doesn't matter what Donald Trump says. It doesn't matter what he thinks. The future of Venezuela is very clear. There will be elections one day. Machado will run. Maybe Delcy Rodriguez will run. Two women in fair and free election in Venezuela actually is a good news for the future of Venezuela. But yes, Donald Trump is like an infantile president who likes presents, and everybody goes to please him with the president and to give him some gift and make a selfie and kind of feel happy. And again, this doesn't matter. For me, this is symbolic. It doesn't change anything. She wants some support because she wants to return back and fight for the next elections and become absolutely, I will say, the right choice would be her movement, which they basically won the last elections, but Maduro didn't allow them to step into the office. So the legitimate future leader of Venezuela is Maria Machado. And in my opinion, she simply play a bit of a funny game with Donald Trump, which doesn't change much. It's just a symbolic gesture. In my opinion, she shouldn't do it, but let her do it. If that's her choice, let it be her choice.
Yes.
It will be remembered. There were previous occasions when Nobel, like Hemingway, did the same, and others did the same.
With that, I would like to thank Professor Veselin Popovsky for joining us today and sharing that insight. Thank you very much. Now we move the focus to China and Canada. A landmark trade agreement has been announced between Canada and China, marking a significant shift in their economic relationship. Prime Minister Mark Carney has confirmed the deal today following a meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing. Meanwhile, the agreement aims to reduce tariffs on each country's products, with China set to lower tariffs on Canadian canola seed by March 1st. However, the combined rate of approximately 15% marks a significant drop from the previous 84%. This preliminary deal is seen as a crucial step in improving trade relations between these two nations. Now for this discussion, we welcome Dr. Sanjay Kumar. He's a journalist at the Korea Herald. Thank you very much, Dr. Kumar, for joining us. Good to see you. Now, looking at this, how do you analyze the current relationship of Canada and China?
Suma, in geopolitics and diplomacy, there are no permanent friends or enemy, but only permanent interests.
Yes.
So the interest of China and Canada lies in having to cooperate and go with this trade policy, and that is why they have forged it. And the areas that they have chosen is also a very comprehensive, very diverse, and very fruitful to both of them. So that is why we can see not a big shift, but a very natural shift in the turbulent times of trade uncertainty.
Right. And do you think that this trade uncertainty and, Canada looking back at China and trying to mend their relationship is a move also from China's side, of course, but from both ways? Do you think it's a move partly pushed by U.S.'s tariffs?
Yes. President Trump's tariff has played a key role when it comes to Canada and China. And every day there is something which is very surprising to not just China and Canada, but to other countries as well. And that is why this move is very symbiosis based. But at the same time, I see it as a flexible piece of alliance from both the sides. So they are forging a flexible alliance with different kinds of like with very strategic messaging to each other that look in this kind of uncertainty. There can be any different alliances, but bilateral alliances like China, Canada, I mean the big players would also work very well, and it is going to set an example to many other bilateral diplomacies too.
Right. And of course, there's still sticking points as this comes after 8 years, right? And for 8 years, there was no visiting by both leaders to each other's countries, and no, from Canadian leader visiting China. So what do you think are the sticking points that still, they're still between Canada and China? And do you think they are pushing these sticking points under the rug for now?
See, Asuma, from a Canadian viewpoint, I think Canada was not considering it extremely important to forge such kind of trade, especially trade deal with China. And they were of the opinion that even without China, they can still go and they can still maintain their trade ecosystem and the alliances. But what has happened just recently in the recent last months have somehow forced Canada to bring someone, I mean, bring a very important partner, big partner like China, and it looks like they are very determined to go with China, and that is why they are coming up with this kind of agreement. Because when you pen down these kind of things, especially when you pen down some things in diplomacy, it has a long term effect. And definitely Canada has thought about it. And from Chinese perspective, they are always open to expand the trade outlook. So if you see the Chinese trade outlook in the recent last months also, they keep on expanding. They have not even stopped trading with some of their adverse countries. So Canada was not in the adverse list. Of course, the relationship was not in good shape, but they never had been in bad shape also. So it was kind of a very passive relationship. So these two countries now are trying to activate the policy and making a flexible alliance based on self interest, and these interests are always permanent in geopolitics and diplomacy.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Kumar, for sharing that from Seoul. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now, moving the focus to South Korea, lawyers for South Korea's former president Yoon Suk-yeol have denounced a court decision to sentence him to 5 years in prison, calling the ruling over his failed bid to impose martial law in 2024 as politicized. The Seoul Central District Court found Yoon guilty of mobilizing the Presidential Security Service to block authorities from executing an arrest warrant to investigate him for his martial law declaration. In televised proceedings, the 65-year-old former president was also found guilty of charges that included fabricating official documents and failing to follow the legal process required for martial law, which has to be discussed at a formal cabinet meeting. Let's listen into what Yoon Suk-yeol's lawyer has shared.
오늘의 유죄 판결은 대통령의 헌법상 권한 행사와 형사 책임의 경계를 지나치게 단순화한 결정입니다. 이 논리가 그대로 유지된다면 향후 어떠한 대통령도 위기의 상황에서 결단을 내릴 수 없게 되며 통치행위는 언제든지 사후적으로 범죄로서 재구성하게 될 위험에 놓이게 됩니다. 형사재판은 정치가 아니라 재판 그 자체 그리고 법률을 기준으로 반드시 하였어야만 함에도 불구하고 이것을 정치화해서 지금 판결을 내린 점에 대해서 강력한 유감을 표하는 바입니다.
Now for this discussion, we welcome back Dr. Sanjay Kumar. He's a journalist, joins us live from Seoul. Thank you very much, Dr. Kumar, for staying with us. Now, can you tell us the significance of this court's decision towards an ex-president, of course, a political elite here?
Yes, Uma, this has been not a new issue. It has been ongoing since many months.
Yes.
And especially this has become more significant because of the verdicts and rulings which are to happen this week, and it is going to take place until February 19 and even after that, because there are 8 trials that former President Yoon is facing right now. He's standing these 8 trials. Just recently, last week, I think it was, yeah, it was this week. This week, the many prosecutors have even asked for death penalty for these things. But the lawyers are divided here, not on the legal punishment. They are divided about the extent of the legal punishment. The entire society here in Korea and even the legal experts and political circles, they know that definitely former President Yoon is going to be punished somehow because of many of these obstacles that he created in the constitutional order. There is no doubt about it. But the extent of the penalty, I mean punishment, which means some of them want him to be like hanged till death, as like very harsh punishment, harshest one, execution, which is unlikely to take place in Korean system. But you never know, because there is a huge political pressure, so we cannot say about this. But even within the imprisonment, there are 2 divisions, like either it should be life imprisonment or imprisonment with long term, I mean 5 year, 10 years, or so. There is a division on this front. But the message is very clear here. After seeing all these legal procedures since last 9-10 months, we can say, and it is very clear that no one is above law in South Korea and South Korean democracy. This is what the spokesperson, I think, was trying to reiterate again and again as well. But people are tired of it, Asuma. If you ask me a frank opinion, people
Yes.
here are tired of it and they want it to be concluded.
Right. And as you mentioned, people are tired of it. What about the media? How is media covering it? Is it the extensive covering by media that you think is playing a part that people are frustrated or done with it?
The media, for us, it is our duty to report all the things, whatever things are happening,
Yes.
whether it's legal,
Absolutely.
illegal, or certain aspects of the society. So the media attention is still ongoing. Media cannot, take
Yes.
go away. But people are tired of it. When I say tired of it, means people want to, they have got justice, but they want to see the concluded version. Either whether it's the pro-Yun forces, which are very handful, or the anti-Yun forces, or you can say the entire public. They want a legal conclusion. I mean, either to see him behind bar, or the legal process that is ongoing must be concluded. Like, this is the sentiment of people here. So I was trying to look in that direction. And of course, media is regularly watching, and we are trying our best to check what is happening and what kind of rulings and trials are going to be.
Yes, 100%. Thank you very much, Dr. Kumar, for highlighting that. With that, I would like to thank our guest, Dr. Sanjay Kumar, for joining us from Seoul. Now we move the focus on to Thailand. Thailand's Transport Ministry has ordered a 15-day suspension of 14 projects involving Italian-Thai development following 2 fatal crane accidents this week. The suspension applies to all large-scale projects under the ministry's oversight. Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul has called for the termination of contracts and legal action against the contractors involved. Safety inspections will be conducted at each site before work can resume. 2 fatal incidents occurred this week, one at an elevated expressway construction site in Bangkok and another involving a high-speed rail bridge in Nakhon Ratchasima, resulting in a total of 34 deaths and 64 injuries. That's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.